Once the data is finished processing, we'll be shown the visualize page. So note here we can go back to the home page, to the CXI homepage by clicking the little home icon. The visualize screen is going to show us the initial results from analyzing the data. And then the edit screen is where we're going to be able to supervise or organize the results. We're going to start out in the visualize mode. These are the default visuals that the system will produce. We do get a bar chart, top 10 bar chart. Each of these visuals can be customized there are options for each of the visuals. So if we would prefer to see sentiment rather than count, we can do so. We can download into Excel or download an image file for each of the visuals that show up on the page. So again, we're getting instant results. We do have counts and percentages for each of these codes. So improving customer service is a code. I can click on that code and start seeing the pieces of the response. So these are the verbatim responses that included something about improving customer service. So you're seeing all of those responses that are currently coded to improving customer service. You can also see the closed-end view of these responses. So these respondents, 14% were from the East, 7.9% of the West, so on and so forth with our month and our region. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Both of those reports can be exported to an HTML file if needed. All right. So scrolling on down, you'll also notice that the system created, or a Scribe CX Inspector created crosstabs for our closed ends. So giving us the top 10 codes, the bannered by or crosstab by the East-West, which is the division question. So we see 733 respondents were in the East. 56 from the East, we're talking about improved customer service. 30% from the West, we're talking, or 30 respondents from the West, we're talking about improving customer service. We do also have a percent here representing the percentage of the West that we're talking about improving customer service. We do the same with the month, so we can see month 8, 9, 10, and 11 here, and see just if the data, how the data is falling out across the month. We do have a few more options for our crosstabs. You can actually say how many codes do you want to see, how many banner points would you like to see. You can change the, if you want to see it netted by sentiment, you can net it by sentiment, and so on. So again, there are options for each individual visualization as well. Now, you can drill into the individual cells here. So for add more checkout lanes for month 10, I can now see the responses that we're talking about more checkout lanes for month 10. All right. So these are, again, the default visualizations. We can change the visualizations that we see using our chart options. So we do have the option to show a block chart. The grid is going to show us the two questions we analyzed. Sorry, the grid, this is the grid. The grid's going to show us the two questions that were analyzed next to each other. We can turn on sentiment if we like, the top positive, top negatives. And we can also create a co-occurrence, so it shows us the codes that were co-occurring most often. Word cloud. And then this allows us to say we want to see the data trended by month, and maybe we want the percents trended by month, so we can do that as well. So again, each of these things are available for us. We can also say we want to see our closed ends in a bar chart. So if we want to see our closed ends in a bar chart rather than in a crosstab, we can do so, and now it will give us a bar chart showing us the differences in the different closed-end answers for the individual codes. When we're finished, we can, one more thing. Right now we're looking at counts based on comments. Since we analyzed 2 questions, individual respondents could have answers to either one of those questions. So you can change it to look by comments or by respondents. It will be the same if you're only analyzing one question, but we're going to go ahead and leave it at comments for now and hit OK. All right, so now we're seeing, again, I left the top 10 bar chart in there, but now we're seeing just the top 10 broken out by Q1 and Q2, the variables that we analyzed. We're also seeing a sentiment pie chart that we can drill into. So if we want to see the things that are being talked about negatively, we're going to have all of the negative responses in this particular report, the 290 comments that were classified as negative. We can also see how those were affected by the closed ends. Drilling down, this is the co-occurrence. So add more checkout lanes, express lane availability came up in 6 comments, improving customer service, customer satisfaction is a priority. Of course, those came up in 5 comments. So you're seeing the codes that were mentioned most often together. And then we have the word cloud. So this is an improving customer service word cloud. The prices word cloud. Let's just see competitive pricing. So for competitive pricing, we see lower, compared, the different things that are coming out for pricing. So we've done that for our top 10 codes, word clouds for our top 10 codes. We'll scroll on down, and now we can actually see, and again, I don't want this to be 10. I want this to be my top 5, and hit OK. So I can see it a little better. So I can start seeing how the codes rise and fall from month to month. What's going on with the percentage of people talking about the different codes from month to month. And then we can see, so East versus West, what percentage of people were talking about improving customer service in the East versus the West, or competitive pricing, East versus West, so on. And as we go down, now we've got the months. So you can see the different ways that you can visualize the data. Again, these can be downloaded to a chart or downloaded to, so you can put that in a chart and it creates a quick little PNG, or you can create an Excel file that contains the data that is in the chart. So we can actually look at that and see the data that was actually in the chart. Let me bring that over so we can take a look at it. There we go. So you can see just the data behind the chart. Go ahead and close that up. Okay, so again, those are some of the visuals we have available to us, some of the chart options. We do also have some filtering options. So if you want to just see the East Division and you only want to see the negatives for the East Division, you have the option to do that. Hit OK. And now we're going to see all of those visuals, but it's just going to be based on negatives for the East Division. So now we have just the negatives for the East Division. Okay, so to remove the filter, we're going to just click here. And now I'm going to take off these, the word cloud and the co-occurrence take a little longer to produce. So I'm going to go ahead and take those off and then talk a little more about some of the other things we can do. We do have the ability to ignore codes. If you want certain codes not to appear in your visualizations, you can tell it to, if you want to ignore improve customer service, improving customer service will no longer appear in your list of codes. Our number 1 code is now competitive pricing. So again, we can ignore codes, turn it back on if we want. The final thing to talk about here is any of the visuals that you have showing, you can export to HTML, save that and share it. Okay. You can also export to Excel. The Excel export contains details about the different codes. Probably the most important, let's go ahead and open that up and take a look. All right. And in that Excel export, it does give us just all of the codes with counts. It gives us the codes and the ability to expand the responses that are in the code. So these are the codes, these are the responses that were in improving customer service. We see the coded responses in a vertical file. So respondent ID, response, codes applied, codes applied. We do also see a horizontal file, RID, responses, codes applied, marched across the page there. These are the response ID, respondent ID, the response, and then the segment and the code that was created from that segment. So this really breaks it down, what was extracted and what codes were applied by segment. The API data is really the raw data, and it gives us our ID, the question that was analyzed, the segment that was extracted from the data, or the idea that it was extracted from the data, sentiment score, codes that were applied, and then all of our closed-end data. The last column here shows us the verbatim with the part of the verbatim that the row represents, tagged in blue. Okay, so that's the API data. This is, again, available through the Excel export. All right, so those are all of the visualization options.